Funding for Angelina Ballerina. The next step is funded in part by.
Major funding for Curious Buddies is provided by.
Funding for second grade international show is provided by.
But
Support of the Big Comfy Couch is provided.
Funding for the Big Comfy Couch on PBS Kids is provided by.
This program is made possible in part by Ready to Learn Television Cooperative Agreement from the U.S. Department of Education to the Public Broadcasting Service.
major funding is provided by.
Sesame Street is brought to you by the following.
Funding credits to Space Peeps was provided by.
Major funding for Sesame Street is made possible by.
Funding for Fetch with Ruff Man is provided in part by.
Funding for Plug and Program is made possible by.
Funding for the Big Comfy Couch is provided by the following.
Funding for Pob's program is made provided by.
Major funding for Sesame Street is provided by.
Arthur is sponsored by.
Funding for Kids Fun is provided by.
Arthur Speaks is brought to you by the following.
Funding for Preschool Family is made possible by.
Sid the Science Kid is brought to you by the following.
This program is provided by.
Comedy World is brought to you by the following.
Pep's program is provided by Chuck E. Cheese.
Funding for the Big Bang Theory is made possible by Radicals.
Funding for Phineas and Ferb is provided by.
Sid the Science Kid is brought to you by the following.
First,
funding for the Big Comfy Couch is made possible by the National Science Foundation, where discoveries begin.
Funding for Chicka Chicka Boom Boom is provided by the following.
funding for Phineas and Ferb is provided by.
Major funding for the Big Comfy Couch is provided by.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid is brought to you by the following.
Funding for Phineas and Ferb is provided by the National Science Foundation. America's investment in the future.
Major funding for SLO is made possible by.
Funding for Kids Fun is provided by.
Funding for the GREENY Live is provided by.
Funding for Blue's Clues is made possible in part by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you.
Funding for Blue's Clues is made possible in part by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you, and by.
Funding for Fetch with Ruff Man is provided by.
Major funding for this program is provided by.
Funding for the Big Comfy Couch is provided by the following.
Funding for a New Year's Eve special from Winnie the Pooh is provided by.
This program is made possible by.
Do ma'am, PBS Kids.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready to clown around with Aiden and Molly, a clown and HEDGEHOG on the Big Comfy Couch?
Funding for the Night House is made possible by.
Juice.
Funding for Phineas and Ferb is provided by.
Funding for Theodore Tugboat is made possible by.
Teletubbies was made possible by.
Not so fast.
Oh no, not Terry Turtle.
This item will teach you a very strong strict lesson. P.S. I guess you have no choice but to take it. And yeah. So take it as a very strong strict lesson.
No 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 no.
Funding for Terry Turtle is provided by
Coca. Major funding for Paw Patrol is provided by.
Funding for Susie is provided by.
Funding for Mickey's World is possible by.
Funding for Little Einsteins is provided by.
Funding for Court Cases Gone Wrong is made possible by. Support of Go Animate Comedy World is provided by.
Kirby was funded in part by.
Funding for That 70s Show is provided by.
Funding for Olive's Show is provided by.
Funding for Little Stick Boy is provided by.
Funding for Curious George was provided by.
Funding credits is Space PEPZ is brought to you by.
PBS Kids and Friends has been provided by.
Is brought to you by the following.
Your funding for Veggie Tales is made possible by.
Funding for the Aglodaklathon is provided by.
Umania is provided by the following.
Funding for Ben 10 is provided by.
Major funding for GREENY PHATOM is provided by.
Funding for the Jungle House is made possible by.
Major funding for Object Show All Stars is made possible by.
Funding for St. Patrick's Day Special for Winnie the Pooh is provided by.
Juicy Juice.
My Little Pony Friendship is Magic is made possible by.
American Dragon Jake Long was sponsored by the.
The Mario and Luigi Animated Show is provided by.
Adam Gets Grounded is made possible by.
Funding for Fetch with Rough Ramen is provided by.
Funding for Yoshi is provided by.
Funding credits to Space Peeps was provided by.
Funding for Peanuts is provided by.
Hello, this is.
This program is made possible by.
Funding for this episode of The Big Comfy Couch is funded by.
Funding for the Big Comfy Couch is provided by.
The Big Comfy Couch was brought to you by the following.
Kids Fun is brought to you by the following.
Funding for Blue's Clues is made possible in part by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you, and by.
Funding for Barney and Friends is provided by.
Funding for Elmo's World is provided by.
Funding for Barney and Friends is provided by.
Remax.
Major funding for Sonic the Hedgehog is made possible by.
Funding for Temple Run the movie is provided by.
Major funding for Curious George is provided by the National Science.
Funding for Brian's Fun Days is proud supporters of.
Go Animate has been made possible by.
Funding for PBS Cartoons on Box is by.
Funding for Rascals the show is provided by.